everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And this is our 87th episode. Well, hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the last podcast about Giacomo's prep and that you are as excited as we are about how quickly and consistently these guys are coming out. Let's see if we can get the fastest turnaround time ever. Today is June 30th. Let's see what day this comes out.
Oh, I don't see why that wouldn't happen. Our sound editor, Christina, she's a godsend. I'm so thankful she's on our team. It makes it so much more worth it for us because we can focus on you, the listeners, and giving you what you want to hear and learn about and know about. And it gives us the chance to become more creative and find new topics and research them and just focus on putting some good stuff out.
And we have heard from a few of you. We keep saying, hey guys, send us a message. Tell us who you are. And a few of you have lately, and it has been just really, really cool. So, keep those coming. We love it. And any suggestions, topics you want us to cover, you let us know. Because with us making these more regularly, I'm sure we'll run out of ideas soon enough. So, yeah. Hope everyone's having a good summer so far and has some fun 4th of July plans. We don't really have any plans, do we?
You're making a cake for your mom this weekend.
I am. Her birthday's on the 5th, and that's kind of my thing. Like, in another universe, I actually own a vegan bakery where I just make cakes. That if I didn't work in fitness, that's what I would do. But making her a peanut butter chocolate fudge cake. I'm sure I'll post pictures of it somewhere.
You said probably. Cheesecake.
There's cheesecake in it too. No, I think I opted it. Maybe I did opt for that one. I can't remember which one I decided on now. It's going to be not healthy. I can tell you that. But she's going to love it. And the kids are going to love it. And of course it's going to be vegan and all that jazz. So yeah, we do have some bummer news though. Our dog, Joey, he's a 15-year-old dachshund. And he's had some back problems for probably like a year and a half, mild back problems that occasionally flare up. But this week they got pretty bad and we had to take him to the vet, and they recommended 8 weeks of strict crate rest, which is like torture for everybody. It's so sad.
But there are certain things that we have not been able to give him in his old age since he doesn't have as much of his own autonomy as he used to because he can't move around. So what I've been...
he can't move around as well as he used to. He can still get around.
Yeah, but there are just certain things that when it comes to elderly care, and that includes your fur babies, you need to spend more and more time on them to make sure to give them the things that they can't get on their own as easily anymore. So like... I'm getting him out a little more. I'm feeding him and giving him water outside as opposed to inside so we get some more fresh air.
We bought him a stroller. Should be here tomorrow so he can still get lots of walks. He just can't actually walk.
I'm going to get him an oil diffuser and throw some lavender out there. I'm telling our smart speaker to play some soothing jazz and some like classical music so he could chill, covering his crate at night, moving around. Like, you know what? If it's going to be like this, rather than let him feel our worry, I want him to feel love and support. And I think like that 1-2 punch of both tough love and extra care, give him exactly what he needs. And hopefully he fully recovers back to the way he was before this flare up.
Yeah, the vet seemed to think like he really would improve significantly from this, which is good because, at 15 years old, putting him in a crate for 8 weeks just seems a little bit mean. But, he's still very, very with it and kind of sprightly for a 15-year-old dog. So, yeah, I'm hopeful, but I still feel bad because he doesn't know what the heck's going on. He's just like, why am I suddenly in this tiny box where I can turn around and like pretty much do nothing else?
Oh, he's watching TV at human eye level as opposed to like being down and being like, what are the humans looking at on that screen that I can't see with my eyes? So, again, just giving him some more stimulation that he's not used to. But anyways, other than that, I don't know. I'm going to head up the beach this weekend. You got any plans for yourself?
You probably think that he's kidding, but he's not kidding. He's totally going to the beach without us this weekend. I think that I'm going to take the kids to the splash pad. Our gym, it's a really awesome gym, but it's like very Gucci. It's like a super, super Gucci gym, but they handled COVID better than anybody else around here. So we started going there. They have all these outdoor pools and they have this crazy like water park outside that the kids love. So I'm probably going to take them there this weekend and then we'll celebrate Mom's birthday.
What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you looking at? Anything good that you consuming on your own?
No.
Nothing?
No, really not much because it's just been, as you know, very, very crazy around here. I guess we could say it. I haven't even told some of my friends yet, so I should probably tell them first before this airs. But we have the kids back. I've already mentioned them a few times. So yeah, we have the kids back in our care. So that has certainly made it. So there is no watching of the shows or listening to the podcasts this past week. So just focusing on that and getting that routine ironed out. And it's been challenging, but here we are. We will carry on and the kids are having a grand old time.
Totally. They moved in on Friday. Changing the household has been not the smoothest, but that's to be expected. It's shocking for them.
Yeah, they're 3 and 5 now. So.
Yeah. You'll hear them a lot more in our podcast because we talk about our lives and what we do, and they're a part of it. So as we process what's going on and we have lots of good times together, I'm sure we'll be able to share all that cool stuff with you. And if I know my Danny, she's going to find a way to watch more things and listen to more things. And I'm curious to know, because honestly, she's got her own little world.
We did go see Black Phone.
Yes.
And that was awesome.
Yeah, I knew all about who the author was beforehand, and I played those cards close to my chest because I wanted to see if she knew, and it kept it like suspenseful for me. And afterwards, it turned out that Danny did not know who the author of The Black Phone was. She just knew it came from the book. This dude named Joe Hill, that's his pen name. He wanted to keep a pen name so that he could earn the merit of being a good writer on his own. Joe Hill is actually Stephen King's son. So Stephen King's son wrote The Black Phone. So sorry for the I should have said spoiler alert. Oh crap, I'm so sorry.
Is that really a spoiler?
Kind of. It was a spoiler for you even.
Well, that's because I went in watching it blind because I like to do that.
Me too.
So I didn't know anything about the movie, but it was very, very good.
It was very good. Anyway.
So one little bit of housekeeping before we get into our topic today. We are offering a free 1-month trial of our Muscles by Brussels membership. So the link for that is in the show notes. If you want to give it a shot, it is our membership community all-in-one training program where you get access to our website, all of our recipes, our meal planner, our app. You get monthly training programs for the gym or at home. You get bonuses that unlock every single month. And probably the coolest thing is there are bi-weekly live coaching calls with Giacomo and myself. And it is just, we are so psyched with this community and the way that it's grown over the last few years. We have a lot of new members, but we also have quite a few members who have been in there for over 3 years, which is pretty crazy. So if you would like to check it out, click the link in the show notes and you can get your free 1-month trial to Muscles by Brussels membership today.
Okay, now let's get into the topic at hand before we turn this into a conversation about our lives, because this one is actually, well, hey, it's interesting. That's why we chose to talk about it. Biohacking, which I did honestly not know much about before this episode was scheduled to go up. So I did a little quick homework on the definition of biohacking, and I realized that it's just something I already do, but I got a feeling you're a little more familiar with it. So why don't you define it?
Biohacking is basically just trying to find various ways to live as your optimal self. So basically finding ways to try to reach your full potential, whether that's physically, mentally, in various aspects of your life, like career-wise, or your sleep, or your fitness, or your physique. It is trying to find almost like little cheats to be the best version of those various things that you can. And it's a really hot topic over the last few years. Biohacking forums are enormous, and I'm being generous by calling it interesting. And a lot of people do ask us, like, oh, what are your favorite biohacks? And we just thought it would be interesting to talk about the whole premise. I guess kind of what we think of it as a whole, and what is garbage and what is actually helpful.
I want to talk about the garbage too, because as weird as it is and as much as it's not going to help you, it's kind of interesting to hear the stuff that people get into when it comes to a theory that can actually help people improve their life, right? For me, I look at biohacking and I think, okay, like better habits, better routine, and like, duh, your life will get better. For some people though, biohacking is it's like almost a way of life. It's like a strong belief that you can take your insides and rewire them and become almost superhuman. It's like this belief that you can change your physical and mental self in such a way that your body will just auto-regulate and you'll just be a much more capable human than the average person because you did this work, whatever it is.
What was that movie, Limitless, with the guy that looks like you?
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, you want to see a funny thing? Go watch the movie. He's just not that into you because Giacomo's doppelganger and my doppelganger are married in the movie, and we both like got kind of freaked out watching it. So you should check that out. Giacomo's doppelganger is Bradley Cooper and mine's Jennifer Connelly, and they're married and it's funny. Anyway, Limitless was the movie that he was in, where I think it was a pill. Like he took some kind of pill and it made him like a superhuman. Biohacking is like a smaller, or I shouldn't say a smaller, many little versions of that. And I like the premise, right? That sounds very cool. What? There are tips and tricks that I could use to be a better version of me? Yes, please sign me up. So I don't know, I want to say it was like 2018 or something that I got interested in this concept of biohacking and started lurking in forums, as I often do. And I pretty quickly realized that on the whole, the community is just cracked. Like absolutely ridiculous as a whole. To me, what I thought was going to be, oh, here's some tips and tricks to take my 9 to a 10. What I actually found was that on the whole in the community, it seemed like people were looking for shortcuts to avoid hard work, which is like so not my thing. You know what I mean? People looking for ways to optimize their physiques like without working out, or to get the absolute most that they could out of like 4 hours of sleep. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's interesting because I did not get involved in the conversation, as I often tend not to, where I know you get deeply immersed in the dialogue and the drama and all that, which makes for a really good conversation between the two of us. I can like nerd out on research. I feel like you nerd out on looking at how people are talking about things really hard. And it gets your finger on the pulse, which is pretty cool. So no, that didn't occur to me that people are looking for shortcuts. I thought to myself, people want to do the work and literally change themselves so that as they rewire, they could do even more work and be an even better human, as opposed to like putting the machine that vibrates your abs so that your abs
yes, that sort of thing. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't want to make it sound like every single person that's interested in biohacking is just doing that sort of stuff, because that's not true. There's lots of things that do work. There's lots of things that are true. And there's lots of things that can take your 9 to a 10 or your 8 to a 9 or whatever, help you improve when you're doing everything else right. But holy crap, are there a lot of people who are just looking for the right pills to take so they don't have to eat a salad? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, not really something that I'm super interested in personally. So I would say if biohacking is something that you are interested in, just be wary of that. Ask yourself when you're, because there's like literally, we couldn't possibly talk about all of the things out there. I mean, there are people taking 100 pills of different supplements a day because they think it's going to make them live forever, or think it's going to make them more productive in their workspace, or use a bigger percentage of their brain, or make sure that they don't turn on the epigenetic or don't, turn on the gene for early onset Alzheimer's. Like, don't get me wrong, if I had the gene for high risk of early onset Alzheimer's, I'd be trying to figure out a way to avoid that as well. But this is really important. Guys, you need to have your basics in order before you even think about adding some little extra under the guise that it's going to take you to 100%.
Yeah, totally. And then there are some things that fascinate me that are probably completely off topic, so I don't want to go too off here in conversation. It did fascinate me, though, that there are individuals out there that are experimenting with things like implants to change the infrastructure of their body, not really because realizing, like, dude, like, yo, you might risk your body rejecting something or keeping it in there and developing carcinogens, and it'll display as cancer in your system. Like, I get where you're coming from. You want to experiment with technology, but
yeah, biohacking kind of runs the gamut from like having green tea in the afternoon to help you focus. Like, that's biohacking, guys. It's just a really fancy name for like a lot of what might just be common sense. But having green tea in the afternoon to concentrate, all the way up to, I heard something about people who had like cochlear implants put in their ears so that they can hear sounds like 200 meters away. I'm like, why? But my point is a very wide range of what people are doing and calling biohacking.
yeah, I do.
It
think
is interesting.
there's some experimentation that is lifestyle and more mental than like the stuff that we're going to go through, like nutrition and sleep and stuff like that I find interesting, stuff I already experiment with on myself, and I bet you do too outside of habit and routine. But then again, there's that really odd stuff, like people trying to recode DNA, all kinds of crap that I don't even understand.
Yeah, and I'm not totally against all the oddball stuff. I've done a couple of oddball experiments in my life that you're familiar with. But, you can't do them all at once and think you know what's making a difference. I mean, I was watching a lot of in research for this video, I was watching a lot of interviews with biohackers in various parts of the world. And it's like, on one hand, the interviews were almost kind of made to make these people look like quacks, which I didn't think was particularly fair. On the other hand, they had floor-to-ceiling shelves full of supplements that they took every single day. And I'm looking at this shelf of, 100 to 150 various bottles of different supplements going, how the hell would you know what is making a difference and what is not making a difference if you are constantly taking a bajillion different pills and changing your routine and you wouldn't know. When you start doing these things and making these changes, there's a lot of benefit to making one change at a time to see if it actually helps or not.
And I feel like there's only so much complexity you want to build up into before that in and of itself becomes disordered and, in my opinion, takes away from your quality of life.
Well, here's the argument, right? Because one of the people made that argument, like, so this probably takes you an hour to take all of your supplements every single day. And the guy was like, yeah, it takes some time, but if it helps me live like 20 years longer, and then medicine has advanced so much in that time, maybe I'll be able to reap the benefits of like not having to die eventually. The woman was like, you're gonna die someday, right? And he was like, well, I don't actually believe that. And I was like, oh my gosh. So again, that's a very extreme example. So I think it's important to talk about, I don't want to talk about all the stuff that doesn't work because I don't know. I haven't tried all of these things. I don't know what does or what does not work. What I could tell you is some stuff that we know can work. And I will add, just like everything else, a little biohack that might work for you might totally not work for your spouse or your brother or your mom or something like that. Because a lot of it, you have to work with yourself. You're trying to be the best that you can be, and your internal clock or genetics or potential is going to be different than somebody else's in various areas.
True. Why don't we start with nutrition? We'll start with you. Why not? I'm putting you on the spot. What is a good biohack for you? What is something you think about when it comes to nutrition?
So, I mean, obviously the basics are super important. Like, can't hammer that home enough. Eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, eat lots of colors, eat from all of the different plant-based food groups, fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, root vegetables, all of that. That's really important. When you're getting the flavonoids from all of the fruits and vegetables and the antioxidants, that is literally helping to heal your cells and keep them youthful and keep you healthy. Like, it sounds so ridiculous. We talk about this from the time we're 5. We start talking about how it's important to eat fruits and vegetables, but that really is like a true, real biohack. Eating lots of fruits and vegetables, getting in fiber, that's a big one. And like, if you don't have that, if you are not doing that, and you think you're going to go take flavonoids in a pill and that's going to give you the same results, I highly, highly doubt it.
I like that you're getting salty with this already before you've even gotten deeper into what kind of toolkit we can create for ourselves and how it can be beneficial when it comes to nutrition.
You think I'm being salty? I didn't think I was being salty.
Well, I know you well enough.
I have thrown no shade.
Maybe you should. But it's true. It's very true what Danny's saying, right? You improve your gut health, you digest food better, you keep yourself cleaner on a cellular level because you're giving yourself the nutrients that you need and you're getting it from whole foods.
Yeah.
You can supplement with these things. However, that's not a replacement for eating whole foods. It's just not. So your body will respond better, and essentially you're biohacking your insides and making it so that you can bulletproof your body for the future as best as possible by eating nutritious food. When I think about nutrition and the toolkit that you can create, I think about the aversion and the fear that we have as far as paying attention to what we put in our body. And we're like, oh, everything's intuitive and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good. But like, don't forget, you still want to learn and train your body to want to eat a certain way. So it's like, we move away from tracking so much in conversation, but in my opinion, paying like food journaling of any sort makes it so that your intention shifts and you just wind up gravitating toward a routine where you're making better choices, getting in more protein, getting in the amount of food that you need, eating the kinds of foods that you want to eat. And then with that toolkit, you can level up and do it without paying attention and without food journaling. And that's like the next step, in my opinion, when it comes to biohacking, like teaching yourself to perform at a higher level as far as your nutrition goes without making it something prescriptive.
I would also say that when you food journal, because I don't think food journal is biohacking, but I think it can be a window into it, right? When you are journaling, not just writing down what you're eating, but how does it make you feel, right? This is true biohacking. If you find that eating a lot of carbs at lunch makes you sleepy in the afternoon, this is kind of common actually, don't eat a lot of carbs at lunch. But you wouldn't know that if you weren't keeping track of it. And, just as human beings, we have learned to become so detached from our bodies. And in the fitness industry, which we work in, a lot of the goals that people want to achieve in fitness and in the physique world kind of require you to detach from your body, to ignore your body's signals. To get as shredded as Giacomo is right now, he's not listening to his body, guys. He's I know you're listening to it in the ways that you can. There's a lot of signals you have to just like put your fingers in your ear and go, la, 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 I'm trying to get lean. Because, the human body isn't meant to be 5% body fat. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying. You don't want to steer people in that direction. In my opinion, though, the benefit of doing something like this, where you ignore your body, is that you're going against what your body's naturally meant to do, but while you're doing it, you become more and more aware of your body's responses. So
maybe you do. A lot of people don't. A lot of people get very, very, very adept at ignoring their body when they go through a contest prep.
Yeah, and that's the evolution. Like if you plan on making it doing something extreme, you better find a way to pay attention to your body's negative responses and process them in a healthful way. Because 1, you won't know how to work with them. And 2, you'll find yourself in emotional turmoil and probably self-sabotage in some ways, and that will not be good for your mental health. So, risky sports, extreme sports, but ways to do them and learn and grow as an athlete, even while you're arguably ignoring your body signals.
Regardless, that's what I was trying to get at, is our bodies are sending us signals all the time about everything. And it's just a matter of paying attention enough to listen to them and try to find out what's causing them. So, maybe there's a particular food that doesn't make you feel very good. You wouldn't notice if you didn't keep track of that. It took me years to realize that really high fat foods make me feel sick. Like, it took me years to figure that out. But now I know, I can't eat something that has peanut butter and coconut and avocado. Listen, that sounds delicious. But if I ate something that had all of those ingredients in it, I'd be flat out. So, that is kind of biohacking as well. Just paying attention to what your body's trying to tell you. When does it not feel good? When does it feel great? How can you do more of the stuff that feels great and less of the stuff that doesn't feel great? You have to keep track of that to figure it out. And then kind of like a true, I guess, biohack is, for me anyway, is taking omega-3s. Taking an omega-3 supplement to me feels like kind of in that genre of just popping some pills to get a special result. I actually do fully believe in the power of omega-3 supplements.
Since we're going on to supplements, I'll say something that's a little more off the fringe that I do, and it's self-experimentation, so take it with a grain of salt, if you will. I like to experiment with nootropics. So I use this stuff called L-Dopa, and it's a precursor to dopamine, and I only use it when I'm training. And I taper off of it when I'm deloading so that my body doesn't become dependent on it. Now, does it work? I don't know. However, it does send a pleasure signal to my body while I'm training, which, if nothing else, you're just enjoying what you're doing while you're doing it. And if it does what it's intended to do, it makes it so that I can't not train, because that's where I enjoy without being dependent on the thing. I also save it for competition prep and season. And when I'm not prepping or I'm not in the middle of the season, it goes away because I don't need to live my life with a supplement like that. However, for competition, it's something that I throw in the mix through self-experimentation, saying, okay, maybe this thing will help me. Psychosomatic, perhaps. Is it working? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't touch that stuff. I don't like to mess with stimulants. And what I've found in the biohacking world is a lot of stuff that's supposed to increase your focus and clarity and make you more productive. It's all just like stimulants of various kinds. And I'm just really sensitive to stimulants. And that is something that's a perfect example of something that might work for somebody and work really well. And it does not work for me. So yeah, just one thing about the omegas, because I didn't get to explain why I think is so important. In the United States of America, we have a really high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. And really high omega-6s are inflammatory and omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. So in a perfect world, we would have a ratio of maybe 4-to-1 omega-6s to omega-3s. Some would argue maybe even 2-to-1. But the average vegan actually takes in a ratio of 24-to-1. So by adding in more specific omega-3s, I use a brand called Testa. I absolutely love it. You got to get the DHA and the EPA capsule together, and it's fantastic. Kind of pricey. It's the priciest supplement that I take, and I won't stop taking it. So by increasing the number of threes, you kind of fix that ratio a little bit. And along with that, I would also say limiting your omega-6 intake, which basically means limiting vegetable oils where you can, to help kind of fix that ratio to decrease inflammation, because inflammation is the root of a lot of bad things.
Always dropping those sensible, practical tips that work across the board, like the omegas, the D3, the B12, et cetera, et cetera. I want to move on to sleep, because to me, that's a really interesting one. And I think what it will mean for good sleep hygiene can vary depending on the person. Mm-hmm. I'll start with me. I have recently changed what I do to sleep. I started using earplugs, which is a new one for me, because typically I've never slept with earplugs actually, and I've found it to be really nice, a nice way to block out. So here's the thing to know about me. I prefer to give my senses a rest when I sleep, and I prefer to give my senses a rest in general, because we live in such an excitatory like world these days.
Is that a word?
I made it up.
Okay.
We live in a world where we're unnecessarily overly stimulated, whether we like it or not. And in general, and I think it's something it's worked for me since I was a kid, I like to give my senses a break. So now there are the things at work, like keeping the room dark, for example. And then there are other things that many people don't do, like earplugs. But rather than me just sit here and talk about all my sleep hygiene habits, I'm curious to hear some of yours.
Well, I've talked about them on the podcast before. I sleep with white noise. I always sleep in the same weird position. It's funny. I put myself in that position and my body knows it's time to go to sleep. Maybe other people feel that way as well. I do not have caffeine past 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because if I do, I won't sleep. So my last thing that I have is iced tea. Well, right now it's iced tea because it's summer, but iced tea at 1 in the afternoon. And then that's it. Even if I'm really tired at 4 or 5, I don't do it because it will interfere with my sleep. I also protect my sleep rabidly. I know myself and I can't function on little sleep. I know people who can. God bless my mother. She's been sleeping like almost nothing, like 3 or 4 hours a night, and she's still up and doing stuff. I physically could not do that. So I know that I need at least 7 hours of sleep a night to function, really. And ideally, actually 8, which actually means I need to be in bed for 9 hours to get that. So yeah, that's me. I haven't been very good about it this past couple weeks, but normally I do try to limit blue light before bed also. So that is no screens, no TV, no phone. And some people do this for hours before bed. I don't really find that it interferes with my sleep, but this is probably not a great thing to do anyway. So normally I read my Kindle, but lately I've been not great in having my phone.
Well, I think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's all right.
The blue light, I feel like it cannot be good for your eye health to welcome so much of it in a screen-heavy world. The more you can do to protect yourself from blue light, the better, because you're going to get it in whether you like it or not. I am very disciplined about wearing blue light blocking glasses all day long. Literally all day long. As far as sleep goes, this one has worked incredibly well. Mentored by my coach, no doubt. Enforced by a book called
Why We Sleep.
Yep, biphasal sleep, meaning that we were meant to sleep more than once throughout a 24-hour cycle. And because of socioeconomic and societal reasons, we only sleep once within a 24-hour period, and it's also not enough. And as we age, the need gets greater and greater for us to improve our sleep hygiene. And honestly, if you don't start early enough, sometimes it's just too late and you're suffering the effects of sleep deprivation. Yeah, I mean, I could physically kick butt or ass, if you will, on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And if the people around me knew me well enough, they would know no better. They'd be like, okay, your mood's just fine. However, what am I doing to my health if I'm not sleeping enough? So I try, just like Danny, I piggyback off of her and I protect my sleep because she does. So we protect our sleep together. And I also take day naps. And my day naps are fast. I've got it down to a science, actually. I have a specific sleep pattern on the Headspace app that works for a charm for me. I think it's called Falling Back to Sleep if you use that particular app. And I play it, and the meditation sequence runs for 10 minutes. Within minute 7, almost always, I am some form of unconscious, and sometimes I'm completely knocked out. And I don't quite get in the 26 plus minutes that you're required to get in for REM sleep, but it always makes me feel better. And I strategically time it right after my workouts. So the idea is this: I'm too worried to sleep. Well, yeah. So is that an excuse for not doing something so that you worry less by taking care of your health? Get in your 10 to 15 minutes of sleep instead of worrying for 30 minutes about being worried. Also, you can wind up recovering a little better from workouts and maybe improve your health.
And that would never work for me. I mean, I've taken naps in my lifetime, but the amount of time it would take me to fall asleep would be way longer than 10 or 15 minutes, probably 1 to 2 hours to fall asleep in the middle of the day. And then I'd wake up and not know what year it was. So I've tried, but that one's not for me. So yeah, give it a shot. Maybe you're a nap person. Maybe it can super improve your day. But if it's not, there's also nothing wrong with you.
Any other sleep stuff that's on top of mind for you?
I mean, nothing that I've personally found to be particularly effective. There's all of these supplements people say help with sleep. I've tried a lot of them. I personally have found nothing. And I would encourage you, just back to the thing of supplements, because this was such a huge part of the biohacking dialogue. Go to examine.com. If you're curious about a supplement, read the actual studies on examine.com to see if these supplements even do anything. A lot of these supplements don't even do a damn thing. So it's not even worth wasting your money. A lot of people say, oh, can I take blah, blah, blah supplement? And I look it up and I'm like, well, it doesn't seem like it's going to hurt you, but it doesn't seem like it's going to help you. So if it's not hurting your wallet to try it out, go for it, But just know that, again, even if a supplement works, it might give you, the top change of like 2% in your results. But if you're not doing all of the right things, if you're not already doing the hard stuff, a supplement isn't going to do anything for you. Short of like a vitamin that you're deficient in. Then it can make all the difference in the world. But if it's just like a little extra supplement to help you sleep, but your sleep hygiene is crap, it's not going to do anything.
Pre-training and post. Any biohacks for you in those arenas?
Not really. I wouldn't call them biohacks so much as habits. I think a lot of this, and maybe it originated as things that I was like, oh, I found this thing and it works. And then I just started doing it every day forever. And now it's just a habit and I don't even think about it that way anymore. So, I have my daily single cup of coffee before I train. So I guess that's that's technically a biohack, right?
What about visualizing stuff in the gym or before the gym or planning timing wise for training? I don't know. I'm just thinking of ideas and stuff. Anything
Again, I don't. So I guess one of the things that I guess is a biohack, right, is that we train in the middle of the day, because for me anyway, that's when I feel the strongest. That's when I feel the most energetic. A lot of people train first thing in the morning when they wake up. I feel I cannot do it. I've done it. I've had to do it if I have to catch an early flight or something, but those workouts are garbage. So, and I've also done the evening workouts, and those are better than the morning workouts, but like not by a lot. Midday, and training midday for me is huge. So that is just the time of day we train is a biohack. So find what time of day you are the strongest and see if you can stick your training there.
I'll give you some of my interesting ones if I can get them out. If my memory goes there, I like to picture myself doing a set before I do it, sometimes right before I do the set in the gym. There are certain things that I like to do before I go to the gym or in the morning when I wake up. Like I remind myself of what I do when I'm preparing backstage before I hop on stage, or before I hop on a platform when I'm at a meet, before at the meet. Like, I have a stance, I have my food ready, I have like my mind right, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And like, I will literally take my brain there repeatedly every day, or as often as I can. And it like amps me up and it reminds me and gives me the sense of purpose. And it reminds me like I am an athlete and I do these things. And this is where my brain needs to be, on the mark. So, I have conversations with people like, I'm going to do this no matter what. And I can't not do this. I remember a conversation with Ashley, for example, and she's like telling me about her prep, a friend of ours from Plant Built. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the next 15 years. And I literally take my brain there every time I meditate, when it's not about awareness and it's about letting my brain go wherever it wants. I let my brain go there. And sometimes I push it there because it reminds me again, like, this is your purpose. This is your intention. This is the safe place and the safe memory that reminds you, like, this is where you need to be and nothing else matters. So different stuff like that, where you learn to trust your intentions and you continue to tell yourself what you're doing and why, and you simplify. Because otherwise, sometimes your brain can get so noisy where if you don't have like a simple narrative going on in there, you can distract yourself and talk yourself out of the thing. And I think it's nice to just do some stuff like that for yourself to reinforce what you're doing. and make sure you can't not do it. Whatever makes you feel empowered, I guess. Those are just different private things that I do that I don't typically share. However, everyone has their own stuff like that. And it can definitely be helpful. Mindfulness practice, for example, and visualization.
I was going to say music. Like literally having a playlist that hypes you up or gets you in the zone, that is technically biohacking. So
I can keep...
I don't have much more to say about that, but...
I do. I'll keep going. I like to plan around different kinds of pain and... Well, not pain. I like to play around with delayed gratification and different kinds of things I enjoy at different times. So when I have more time, I like to indulge in things that I don't give myself the time for because I'm busy working or living. Right? So like I'll purposefully listen to audiobooks while I'm training. And I'm like, well, if I want to educate myself, I better go train because now I get to listen to a book, And rather than chit-chatting, I'm listening to a book that's challenging. I have to look up the words to be able to understand what's happening because it's too challenging for me to not understand. And then it keeps me isolated in training instead of chit-chatting too much. Now I'm deeper into conversation. I don't have the energy to listen to books or the time per se to digest it. So I'm like, you know what? I don't need to feel guilty about listening to music. I'm going to listen to music and it's just going to be like whatever. So now it's all about listening to music. And I will literally hack my technology and make my home screen on my phone be exactly what I need it to be. So when I'm on vacation, I only have games in front of my phone. When I'm in the gym and I'm deep into contest prep, I only have music and my training and my nutrition on the front of my phone. When it's the off season, I have books and my library app and stuff like that in front of my phone. So like rather than letting technology control you, for example, and rather than over consuming in a mindless, distracting kind of way, setting up your environments in a way that can work for you. Not saying this works for everyone. These things, though, definitely keep me growing as a person.
Anything for productivity, because that is a huge, huge component of the biohacking community. It has nothing to do with your physical performance. It has to do with your mental performance.
You tell me.
Let's see. So for me, again, it comes back to just knowing when I'm going to be the most alert and the most awake and the times of day that I am most productive and not trying to force myself to be productive at times where I know that I'm not. So in terms of productivity, I don't take any supplements that make me more productive. I don't know that I ever really have. I mean, certainly I've gone through periods in my life where I've had a lot of caffeine and relied pretty heavily on caffeine. But like I mentioned before, that always ends badly for me. I can carry that on for a few weeks and then I just crash like crazy. So yeah, I don't really do that. But the stuff that is the most important thing for me to do in the day, I'm going to do it at the time that I am the most alert, awake, and productive. Believe it or not, even recording this podcast is very challenging for me right now because this is not the time for me to be super, super alert. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. This is actually my crappiest hour of the day is at 3:00. But at 9:00 in the morning, 10:00 in the morning, I'm sharp as a tack. So I'm doing all of my really, really big stuff that I have to get done. I also, for my productivity, make sure to get outside a couple of times a day. Even if it's just 5 minutes sitting outside in the backyard. Giacomo and I have been going for walks in the evening. I think that there is a lot that does. One, to let you know there's a break coming. So you can work really hard till this point and then you get to go outside. And then, there's a lot of research to suggest that just being outside in nature does a lot of really wonderful things for your hormone, for your brain, for your heart rate, for all of that. So getting outside regularly is a biohack.
I forgot about that one. You're right. Getting outside in nature. We haven't done this one yet. And I didn't like your answer when I suggested it. So I'm going to ask again that we give it a shot. I literally want to leave. I know this sounds crazy, but it's not because we don't do it at all. Leave the house and leave your phone home. Leave the house, leave your phone home, and go somewhere. Go on a walk.
It kind of says something about me that's terrifying, huh?
I want to do it. I would do it right this very second. And you told me something about the fact of I think you said, well...
What if we need our map?
Are you serious? I mean, last time I checked, you grew up out here, and I don't know my way around if I can do it.
What if we need to know what time a place is open until, and we have to call them, and then we can't?
What ifs didn't exist, and we went where the day took us?
Yeah, phones are like an anti-biohack. I mean, you guys have heard me rant and rave on this podcast about what phones and technology and social media are doing to all of us. They're just slowly rotting us from the inside. But that doesn't mean that I'm immune. I'm like glued to my phone. I think back to a time when like we didn't know the answers to things. You'd be like, oh, who was that in that movie about that? Oh, what was her name? And like a group of people would have to sit there and rattle off names until somebody finally remembered. You don't do that anymore. You just look it up. Like instantly, you instantly have all the answers. It's a blessing. It's a curse. I will shut up and not go further than that.
Yeah, I take the blessing out of it, and I see no harm in it. I see the harm in not taking a break from it, though. And not that I see the harm in not taking a break, I see the value in taking a break. So rather than just say, this is bad, and I remember the before times, I'm like, you know what? I can make this thing work and work well for me and evolve with it as we evolve. However, it's not the end-all be-all. Like, let's go for a 10-minute walk without our phones in our hand or without a wearable tracking steps. Like, just take the technology off your body. Don't worry about picking up and putting down your phone or an app telling you how often you do or don't pick up your phone, and just go outside without your phone. I hope we do that soon. I think I asked like 2-3 months ago, so I'm putting it out there. So
sounds like you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I am. I remember I did it once before, many moons ago, and I still think back to that day, and I don't see why that can't be some sort of a somewhat regular thing. So I say we do it. Why not? Anyways.
So, in summary, biohacking is a thing. If you're interested in it, look it up. It's a very interesting rabbit hole that you can go down. We barely scratched the surface on this podcast. So, keep your head on your shoulders while you're learning about these various things. Try things out one at a time. Know that, almost nothing is totally magic. Nail your basics. Let us know what you think. All right, moving on to our question and answer segment. This one is for you, Giacomo. My coach wants me to incorporate one untracked meal weekly. I have such a hard time with this because I feel the cheat gets me off track and sets me back. All mental, I know. Any suggestions to make this easier? I know it's important long term, but I struggle with it and I end up feeling guilty.
There's definitely something there with the feelings of guilt and the idea of cheating. My easiest response is reframe the way that you think about this. You're cheating yourself out of being able to trust your body to make the right choices when you identify with an untracked meal as something that is considered cheating. I had a client once that I just let it go. I'm like, you know what? This is your cheat meal. Let's just call it for what it is. But I don't think that they framed it as cheating themselves. I think if you consider an untracked meal a cheat meal, regardless of the feeling of guilt that happens after the fact, or the worry that the guilt is going to settle in, I think you have to ask yourself what you need to do to be able to still access the planning side of your personality without being so married to it that you can't see what's in front of you. Because there is a means to an end there as well. Like, everyone can follow a plan. Everyone can follow a plan perfectly. No one can follow a perfect plan perfectly forever. And once you do follow a perfectly created plan in perfect fashion, at some point or another, you're going to wind up making bad decisions for yourself because you're not going to be able to observe what's actually happening. You're just going to be married to the plan. Like, you get results, but at what cost? Aside from your mental health, aside from not growing as a person, you risk not being able to observe what's happening so that you can make the right moves and pivot. Also, like, food is something that is meant to be enjoyed. And when you're so hell-bent on the plan and the program that you don't give yourself a chance to take a break from the tracking, eventually that decision will be made for you. And that's even worse, because that's when the actual self-sabotage comes to fruition. Because it's like, all right, I'm not going to do this right now at the end of the week because of the fear of not tracking. 3 months from now, you're going to self-sabotage, or you're much more likely to, because you'll probably have a day where you'll be so worried, or you'll have no options because you'll be at a social event, or you just won't be in the mood to track, or whatever, or you can't. And then you'll self-sabotage it because you never practiced the idea of checking out and being okay with not tracking. So it is definitely something that's worth embracing and learning, even when it feels like you're off track. And don't fight the feelings of guilt. Like, understand where they're coming from and learn from that and grow from it. I know I have more to say on this, but I think that's all I'm going to say for now on this question. This one's for you, Danny. What are your tried and true methods that help you bounce back from a multi-day bender of extreme overeating and drinking?
Okay, so a multi-day bender of overeating and drinking, and how do you bounce back from that? Well, let's start with the over drinking first. You probably have a hangover. It is really hard to quote unquote bounce back to your regular routine when you are super hungover. So you're gonna have to call that day a wash. Hydrate, eat what you can keep down, and rest a lot. Get outside if you can, but that day's probably going to be a wash. I've only been really hungover a handful of times in my life, and I know on those days, like, all I can eat is potatoes. Like home fried potatoes. It's so bizarre. So yeah, macros not being hit on hangover days, but honestly, if you're drinking enough alcohol for days to get that hungover, your macros are probably not the top concern. But let's say it's after that, you're feeling better, you're not hungover, you want to know how to get back on track. The most important thing that I could say to somebody is do not try to restrict. So a lot of times when someone has a day or several days of overeating, they consciously or subconsciously decide that in the subsequent days, they will undereat in an effort to make up for it, to make up the difference. And what happens a lot of times is they undereat a lot. They try really hard to restrict, almost as a punishment for what they did. They end up starving. The cycle repeats. They end up binging, they overeat, maybe for 1 day, 2 days, whatever, and it just goes and goes and goes. So it doesn't matter what you had for your last meal. The next time mealtime rolls around, have a normal meal. I don't care if you had pizza and ice cream for breakfast and you're feeling mad at yourself for it. When lunch comes around, eat lunch. But Danny, isn't that too much food? Yeah, technically it might be too much food, but it's going to help you reestablish your normal routine. Your hunger signals are going to start to come back in normal waves. Then you have dinner. Then the next morning you have breakfast. And it's about getting back to that routine as quickly as possible. The faster you can get back to your routine, the better off you're going to be. This goes for whether somebody is sick, whether they had a few days of overeating, like you mentioned, whether they just got back from vacation. Try to get back into your routine as quickly as possible to experience as little friction there as possible. But my number one tried and true, like you asked for, thing is do not start skipping meals because you overeat.
All right, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Please stay in touch with us on socials. We have a Facebook group, Muscles by Brussels. You can contact us on Instagram, on YouTube, at Vegan Proteins, at Muscles by Brussels. You can also email us. Hit the contact button on veganproteins.com. Once again, my name is Giacomo.
And I'm Danny.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.